Imagine if you believe that crystal healing works, and everyone around you did also believe that crystal healing works. So all the practitioners are using it. You use different types of crystals, the big ones, small ones, blue or red, but somehow it never gives you the results that you want, and you wonder, there's something wrong about crystal healing. And slowly many people are started to believe the same way, like you do, and think in the same way. So they demand to see the evidence. Where did this idea come from? And the institution responsible for the crystal healing initiative finally does publish an evidence and says officially that we have no evidence in crystal healing works. Well, what should you do? Well, any person would actually just get rid of the whole practice. Throw all your crystal healing practice away. All those crystals, just throw them away in the bin. In the teaching profession, we have our own crystal healing moment, which is called bookmarking. And something that is very intrinsic in the UK educational system. All teachers mark books. And that's, by the way, only in the UK system. I've never seen the system somewhere else, for example in Italy or Germany or France, where bookmarking doesn't even exist. And when I've talked to teachers from Italy and I told them about marking books, they were just surprised, why would you mark the students' books? It just doesn't make any sense. So a lot of teachers like me were starting to raise a lot of voices about the efficiency of bookmarking. Why do you even mark books? The time it takes to mark books is immense, and the teachers are already under huge strain of workload to add on top of them marking books. So the EEF, it's an Educational Endowment Foundation, finally revealed a report, a marked improvement in 2006. Now on page 5, this is what it says. The quality of existing evidence focused specifically on written marking is low. This is the first line. The quality of existing evidence focused specifically on written marking, which is bookmarking, is low. Technically to say there is no evidence whatsoever. It continues. Most studies have been conducted and are small in scale and/or based in the fields of higher education or English as a foreign language, meaning that it's often challenging to translate finding into a primary or a secondary school context or to other subjects. So this is a finding here. It says on page 5, on the first lines, I've highlighted them here. I'm going to put a link for this report in the video, that there technically it's an admittance that there is no evidence whatsoever. But the report continues. So the report is actually quite long, and it continues about how can we improve and share the best practice in marking. So imagine that in the crystal healing situation where the authorities finally admit that crystal healing doesn't work and it's just a sham. But then the whole discussion directly changes into, okay, so we know it doesn't work, but using blue crystals might be much better than pink crystals or big crystals over small one. Everyone would think that's just an absurd discussion to begin with. When there is no evidence for marking, why are we continuing to discuss what's the best way to mark? How about we do this? We need brave head teachers, and I'm talking to head teachers now, I'm not talking to teachers. Teachers have little power on stuff like this. To finally take the decision and decide, if marking has no evidence, why do it in the first place? If marking books has no evidence, why do it in the first place? And that does take courage, because those head teachers are going to be the first swimming against the flow. Now the other matter is that marking does have a negative impact, not on the students but on the teachers themselves. Marking takes a lot of time. There has been loads of teachers who had their lives ruined, and I'm talking many teachers who have had their life ruined because of the overworking in a school environment. We all know that working in a school environment is already quite stressful, and then add on top of that marking books that has absolutely no effect whatsoever. Those teachers have lost their personal lives, They have lost probably their kids. They couldn't spend the time that they wanted with their kids. Those teachers sacrificed their after-school time, their weekends, their holidays, marking books, doing things that have absolutely no effect whatsoever on the students in the class. But they had to do it because it was policy. We need head teachers to decide the policy of the school is not to mark books. Mark exams, do something else, but not to mark books. Just take it out of your policy altogether. The second thing, if you had any kind of surgery, imagine that you're going to have two doctors performing the surgery. The first doctor has been, sleeping well at night and is well rested, and he's going to perform the surgery on you. Now the second doctor has been overworked by 5 surgeries before. Which one would you rather have the surgery with? Now imagine that. Imagine a teacher who hasn't been sleeping all the week because that teacher has been marking books every day and doing other million things. They've barely slept any nights in the evening. And then we expect that teacher to perform good in the class. How can this make any sense? How can a teacher who has barely slept perform good in a class? What's more important? To have teachers work after school, have all this marking load on them, or actually teach properly in the classroom? Any good head teacher would know that they would rather have a good teacher within the classroom than have a teacher who is marking books outside the classroom. The quality of teaching has to do with the performance of the teacher in the classroom itself. We need to stop overworking the teachers after school. Their time is for their own selves. We already work the highest profession as overtime, unpaid overtime. 50% of the teachers in secondary school teachers in the UK already spend at least 13 hours every week extra, in addition to their teaching hours, doing admin work. At this point, we must all reach a conclusion that if there is no evidence for something, let's just get rid of it.